Okay, there we go. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Tea Rights. Hold on 1 second while I sip my little tea. Anyway, if this is your first time at Tea Rights, hello. My name is Jax. I'm a fantasy author and I will be your host for the next couple of hours. Sparrow just walked in and said hi. Welcome. If this is your first time at Tea Rights or Night Rights, let me just go through the explanation very quick. So this is a very social setting. If you're on Blue Sky and you clicked the play button on your little video, I would highly recommend actually clicking the link because that way you can enter our chat. The chat is open. You can say whatever you'd like, so long as it's within YouTube TOS and so long as it's not weird towards other people. I will read that thing aloud and respond to it, and that's the social aspect. If you're shy, we do have an icebreaker. That's just a writing question to help ease yourself into talking about yourself, talking with the other people in the chat, whatever you'd like to do. Today, it's a little bit cliche, I have to admit, but it's still gonna be fun. It's what are your MCs doing on Valentine's Day? What are your main characters doing? If Valentine's Day, pretend that Valentine's Day exists in your world, because I know that most of my mutuals are fantasy authors. So, just pretend. What are they doing? How romantic do they get? That kind of thing. Anyway, at 9 o'clock on the dot, that is a little less than 30 minutes from now, we'll start the first of our 3/4 word sprints of the day. If you've never heard of a word sprint, that's also not unusual. Some of y'all are kind of new to the fancy writing community terminology. What a word sprint is pretty simple. It is a period of productivity. Ours are 20 minutes, and traditionally, what that means is you're writing for 20 minutes. However, we like to play it fast and loose. You can be editing, you can be drafting, or you can be outlining. You can even do non-writing things. I've had people do art, I've had people do laundry, I've had people just sort of chill and meditate during that 20 minutes. Anything goes so long as you're doing something to improve your life in situation one way or the other. At the end of those 20 minutes, we take a short break, and that break usually consists of 15 minutes. I stay here and I talk. So it'll be about basically anything that's on my mind. Sometimes it's a rant, sometimes it's actually writing related, sometimes I'm just conversing with the chat. Whatever happens. Your job is to take a break, because 20 minutes is a very long time to be going at writing. At the end of the 15 minutes, we start in on the next sprint, and we do that a total of, or actually a minimum of 3 times. Usually for Tea Rights, we go 4 times. I say that oddly because we do have a night version of this program, and we only do 3 sprints on there because it is a weeknight, and usually I am mentally dead by then. But Saturday mornings are a different story. I am bright, I am early. I have only gotten 4 hours of sleep, so this should be quite interesting. To be fair, it was over 4 hours of sleep. I did wake up to construction upstairs because I have no idea who rents the unit above mine, but I already hate them. Basically, I would say somebody bought the unit above mine, or somebody is renting it, and this has started like a couple months ago, or before the holidays at least. And I don't mind construction. I do mind construction when it starts at 7 a.m. And goes randomly too, so it's quite fun to be woken up by pounding and power tools and all kinds of other fun stuff. and then it goes silent for the rest of the day. It's sort of like, what is the point of this? What are you doing? But yeah, that's my rant for the day. But other than that, happy Valentine's Day, everybody. I don't know who's in the stream right now. I did announce it on Blue Sky, so we'll see. I should probably also put this up. Set up OBS with a YouTube Studio. Alright, it's just Sparrow. How are you doing, Sparrow? In the meantime, again, happy Valentine's Day. Sparrow says, in my poorly lit academia project, Eureka is absolutely fine that Luke is not there because he's spending the day with his kids. So obviously, Tina is making garlic spinach cheese crisps. Oh, that sounds delicious. Taisha says, good morning. Good morning, Taisha. And good morning also to Gabe, who just also walked in. Lots of folks trickling in. That's why we spend half an hour just shooting the breeze and doing whatever, because folks need time to come in, you know? They need time to set up. They need time to get their own tea. They need time to say hello and how are you? But anyway, yes, garlic spinach cheese crisps sounds amazing. And also, that sounds like a very chill Valentine's Day, Sparrow. I very much applaud all of your characters, especially Luke for being cool and being with his kids. Let's see. I suppose I can answer mine. Starting off with the nameless song, Mick does not really do anything. Like, he works on like, if we're talking about pre-story, he works on Valentine's Day. He is a waiter, if you don't know, so he's at his family's restaurant serving cute romantic brunches to people who trickle in. Eleanor is probably either still in the capital city of Eldavin if she's studying, or if this is an ideal world, she's at the restaurant as well as a customer, being probably a complete nuisance to her best friend, but it's all good. Post-story or mid-story, Mick would be very weirded out that he is on the other side of this equation at this point, but Eleanor would definitely drag him off for a day off. Ruben is probably there, and probably Benjamin as well, and they probably don't understand that it's not fully platonic. It would be, or maybe they do, and that is half the point. And the entire point is making Mick as uncomfortable as possible, because what is this? I'm not supposed to have a day off. When it comes to Bohemia, probably Cedric would try to do something for it, separate from Arthur, because Cedric and Arthur are just roommates, so. But Arthur would probably either bother the shit out of Cedric with a new case, or just, God even knows, I don't even want to go into what he would do. But anyway, Sparrow says, Tina has started baking on Saturdays. I don't know why, but there's a kitchenette in the help desk office. I'm hoping there's a plot point later. May it not involve fires. Gabe says, making breakfast, which makes me think on Valentine's Day, Tristan would make Avery breakfast in bed and they'd have the sweetest day gift giving and cuddling. That does sound super cute. Taisha says, honestly not sure my characters do much on Valentine's Day, much like their author, but I did attempt a Celtic heart knot shaped sourdough loaf earlier this week. That is awesome. I hope it turned out a-okay. You say attempt, so that can go many ways. It could be like, I made it and it's fine, or it could be, I made it and it does not look like a heart or a knot. But Sparrow says, bread is love, and I agree. Daisha says, hi, yes, I think so. We still have half a broken heart to eat this weekend. Okay, so it was successful. Excellent. Sparrow, Elder Vampire, that is so cute. Go Avery and Tristan. Taisha says there are pics of the loaf on Blue Sky. It is somewhat heart-shaped. Ha. I have to actually, it has been a kind of busy week, I have to admit, so I will definitely check that out and see what's up because I must see heart-shaped bread. Fuck, I'm gonna do it right now. Ooh. Oh yeah, that is very cute. It looks very tasty. Very nice crumb too. But anyway. Gabe says they're my favorite couple I've ever written. The absolute sweetest. Excellent. And Daisha says, ah, thanks. Hell yeah. Tasha says, by the way, if folks want, there's a way to change how your name appears here. I know they all got changed a bit ago. There is, and I highly encourage it for sure, just to make sure that everybody is getting called what they wish. As a heads up, I will have to say that in a prior stream, a friend of mine came in and his full legal name was his username. So, like, make sure that you're checking your display names and changing them as appropriate. Meantimes, what's everybody else's plan for Valentine's Day, by the way? Like, I'm still hammering mine out. I never really did anything for Valentine's Day, not even when I was actually with another person. Like, my ex and I would just sort of treat it as any other day. We wouldn't even exchange gifts, which probably explains a lot about our relationship and how it devolved. But basically, to me, it's always been kind of a chill day. But I do kind of want to go out and just spend it with Benjamin, hanging out, maybe drag a friend or two into the mix, whoever's not really doing anything with their partners. But it's hard to say, you know, it's not so much about what's open, because everything's open in New York. Everything is always open in New York City. It's more about the question of what is there to do on a winter, because a lot of the stuff that I've got for my list is more like spring, summer. I've mentioned this on Blue Sky, but it's sort of like I don't want to go to another art museum because we kind of sort of just went to MoMA. And, you know, you microdose on art. My plan basically is to go to my favorite part of the city, which is Lower Manhattan, East Village, Union Square, and just sort of hang out for a little bit. Go to my favorite restaurant, which is called Assault and Battery. It's a fish and chip shop, and it's been a while since I've gone there. I know part of it is because I tried the entire meatless thing. Technically, I still am largely meatless. I've kind of eased back into pescatarianism, so because I miss fish, so the entire going to fish and chips shop is still kind of kosher for me. But you know, just sort of take Benjamin out because it is his first Valentine's Day, and for a bee, it's more like let's celebrate the beekeepers. But anyway, I'm kind of hoping that's gonna be chill. Uh, Gabe says, I'm a single Pringle, so probably house sitting and watching my comfort movies. That is a good way to spend it. What kind of comfort movies are we talking about? Tisha says we don't usually celebrate, but now that we have kids, we offered to get them something. Obviously, offered a box of chocolate. They want Lego kits, so we're going to Target for Valentine's. Lego kits is an absolute excellent way to say I love you. So I hope that you get cool ones and that they absolutely love them and that they spend the rest of the day elbow deep in Legos. Oh man, now that I'm thinking about it, there is one good thing about Union Square as well. Like there are many good things. There's a good spot to write called Daily Provisions. It's like this very cute coffee chain that's in New York City, probably the best for pastries. The best coffee is Gregory's Coffee, but the best pastries is Daily Provisions. So there's that. There's also the three-story Barnes and Noble. So I might go a little bit hog wild today between Fish and Chips, which is a couple blocks from there, three stories of Barnes and Noble, and Daily Provisions. Gabe says Strange Magic again, excellent movie for Valentine's Day for sure. Wreck-It Ralph. I might even watch the BBC Pride and Prejudice miniseries. That sounds like a good lineup. So, for sure, binge all the things. Man, now that I'm thinking about it, like, so here's the thing. On Monday, I had a depression spell, right? And I had that depression rant on Blue Sky. It's very public. You could probably dig back and find it. I don't care. But after I wrote that entire thing, I actually did take a box and I stood in front of my bookcase. I pulled down every single thing that my ex either got me or reminded me of him. So it's like I have this entire box in the closet of just crap. But consequently, I have a barren bookshelf. So I have decided if I'm not going to be moving anytime soon, slash, okay, before I moved in with him, I had a pretty sizable book collection. Like I had a pretty sizable bookshelf, and it was full top to bottom from with books. But in the process of moving in with him, I had to get rid of a lot of that. So I went from like tons of books to only like a quarter of that collection. So like I think today I'm going to go and Union Square is also at the home of the Strand, which is the largest and I do believe oldest independent bookstore uh, in the United States at least. They have some level of claim to fame on this. I don't remember if it's the United States or the world, and I can't be arsed to look it up. Generally, I try to avoid that place because it is super crowded all the time. But between that and Barnes& and Noble, I think I'm going to start restocking my bookshelf and buying stuff for myself. And then I'm going to go on Itch.io later on tonight and buy some indie books. So, you know what? I'm going to treat myself. And I'm going to show Benjamin a good time if it's not super duper cold. And I'm going to treat myself. Sparrow says, Tasha, Legos are a parenting win. They really are. They're a fantastic toy. And super duper tight. And like, they're the kind of toy, they're the kind of thing where the older you get, the more you appreciate them. And they're already fun whenever you're a small child. So 100% I'm in support of going and getting Legos. Gabe says, good for you. Good for you, Jax. Treat yourself. And I'm like, hell yeah. We'll see also, because I did tell a friend of mine that I'll be in the city, and he's like, I might be interested in hanging out, so we'll see. Gabe says, I got so many books in recent weeks, so I need to read them before I buy any more. I also have a pretty sizable TBR list. I've been meaning to make a list of all the books I have actual physical copies of, and actually all of my books, including e-books, and just like make a list of them so that I can figure out what I actually have and actually read the shit. But you know, it's like when you have empty spots, like massive gaps in your bookshelf, you kind of want to fill them. The other thing that I might do, uh, I used to do a lot of real life kits when I first moved in with Dipshit, and I do miss them. I haven't done one in a while, so that's another option. You know, like getting myself one of those bookshelf cubby setting things, like those 3D settings that are like bookends, and just going to town on it. It's been a while, so. Incidentally, yes, I do highly recommend Real Life. It is not for very small children, I think, because there's a lot of glue and a lot of small bits and a lot of patience that's involved. But they are very fun to put together, and it has been a while since I've tried one. So Tasha says, "Oh yeah, my to-read pile is overflowing too." Right? It's like you buy books and you are like, "I will read this one day," and then you don't. You also have to admit that maybe not doing Cupid was a good idea. I'm not seeing anything on Blue Sky about this, which is kind of sad because, you know, it is a pitch event, but I also understand that, you know, we're kind of getting tired of pitch events, and a lot of the ones that have started out and they're the ones that are super niche haven't been super successful. So, sort of like, sure, Poster Pit was good, but like, then you have genre hyper specific ones like Cupid, or there used to be one for horror and whatnot, um, or the ones that are for small indie presses, and it's sort of like, what does that even mean? Or you might have ones that are like, hey, let's put together a cast and then pitch our event, and it's sort of like, what does that mean? And by the way, this is for industry only. It's like nobody from the industry is coming to Blue Sky. So it's sort of like, I do feel like we're finally setting into a pace of pitch events that do attract people and that are actually super social and involved, and stuff that you can just kind of skip and not really miss. Like I'm like right now looking at the Cupid posts, that the actual Cupid tag, and there is some traction, but it is going to be a very small event, I can tell. And I'm okay with this. Um, I mostly just checked into it, see if I would get FOMO, and also just not really, just to see like how my mutuals are doing, because like only a handful of them are actually participating, looks like, and it is a very quiet tag right now. Anyway, less than 5 minutes until our first sprint. So, what are you guys working on? Uh, Looking over at the chat, Sparrow says, will someone please flip a coin for me? I didn't know what scene to begin with the attack of the golden cat people, or Ilu Xiao discovering her scrying ability. Wait, belay that. Once I asked, I realized I want to focus on Ilu Xiao today. Uh, Also, I just feel free to correct me if that pronunciation was like completely butchering it. Taisha says Jax, is the tag just Cupid? It is actually Cupid. as in pitch event, so it's CUPIT. And T as in towel. I know that my microphone isn't the best, so my vowel or my consonants may sound a little bit muddled. I also know that I need to work on enunciation, and also sometimes in the morning I can't breathe through my nose. Hold on, just 1 second. Anyway, doing a little bit better. But yes, Cupid. Taisha says I'd vote for Elia Shao with scrying. And also, okay, Cupid makes more sense, huh? I also think that, I mean, they did do marketing. They did a whole series of prompts leading up to the event, but nobody did them. So it's sort of like, I feel like there wasn't that special formula that of reaching out and just sort of like having somebody be a part of the community, having the leader be a part of the community and saying, hey, we're doing this today. So, I don't know, maybe. At least. I don't know who runs this. Let me see. Oh, yeah, yeah, the author doesn't really seem to be interacting with the greater community, so it's sort of like you are very liable to get your pitch lost in the sauce. They seem like they only do pitch events, which valid. But then again, you also have like other people who run successful pitch events, and it's because they're more a part of the community. They're more or not capable, but like they're it's easier for them to get the word out about their events, so there's more interest drummed up before it happens. So I do still wish that the best of luck to everybody participating in Cupid. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll pick up midday. It is still only 9 a.m., so who knows. But speaking of, it is 9 a.m., so we are going to start the first of our 4 sprints for today. 20 minutes are on the clock. Backs up in the chair. Deep breath in through your nose. And let it out through your mouth. One more time. And back out. Gabe says more Eden Hollow editing today. The most recent update is when the romance arc between Elias and Sterling finally starts, so things are heating up. Excellent. I wish you the best in editing. Taisha says more editing of my debut today. Hope to get through a few more chapters. And same here, more editing of TNS. Hoping to get to at least middle arc, and which is the part where I start to need to actually outline the rest of the book and see what I can tweak in order to make things interesting for myself. But anyway, 20 minutes on the clock. Get ready. Get set. Here we go. was the first of our sprints. How did we do? I admit I got a little bit distracted here and there. I'm still kind of waking up, but I did read through 820 words, and that is just barely a quarter of this chapter. One good thing about this arc in general. So, TNS has several arcs. One of the, I don't know off the top of my head how many there will actually be, because basically I'm redoing the outline for the rest of the book. But right now, we have the first 5 chapters are like setting up the story. So the first 20,000 words setting up the story, leaving Southwind and so on. This arc is coming to the end of the transformation. So we've got into Phelan Woods. Mick has picked up the amulet, he's turned into a dragon, and now we're dealing with the immediate fallout. Once we get to, like, I do believe after this chapter, we would be starting the next arc, which is the beginning of the Sanctuary arc. He meets the dragons, learns what a conductor is, deals with that, but also deals with the backlash that he gets and the mixed opinions, because some dragons are very much loyal to the conductor and are looking forward to serving one again, and the other half are super tired. They're not sure how to feel, and then Miriam is the only one really who's like, the conductor needs to go away because he represents the destruction of the remainder of our people. Our people are barely surviving. You need to leave now. And a lot of the dragons in the second camp are actually kind of siding with her. So there's like this immediate need to prove himself, which then should lead to the next arc, which is, or that's where I'm starting to get a little bit fuzzy, because on the one hand, I'm like, I want to get to the Zizun faster, and if I put them in their own next arc, then it'll feel like it'll be, we've gotten through 2/3 over half of the story before we finally get to the Zizun. So I want to basically go almost immediately from Mick gets Sanctuary to Mick decides to help the dragons, but in doing so, he accidentally drags the Zizun of Saint Nadia to Sanctuary. And then after that, it's politics and dealing with the Zizun and their conflicts with the dragons, and also specifically the conductor, and it'll be interesting to address that. And then we start getting into dealing with the saints. So there's a lot going on in this book. So I don't know. I've been trying to simplify the plot line down so that everything fits within 150,000 words, but I do hope that the pacing's good and it still feels like I'm not doing too much in one book. But we'll see, you know. That's part of the reason why I'm really redoing the outline, which is going to be part of what I do later on today, probably, if I end up going to daily provisions, like I said. That said, going back to the chat, let's see. Taisha says that went by way too quickly. A lot of these sprints do. I don't know what it is about Saturday mornings, but that's why we end up doing 4 instead of 3. But we do power through them, and it is like the first one, so it's sort of like we're all kind of warming up. We're not entirely in our headspace for doing writing, so for sure it does feel like they go by very fast. Let's see. Tasha says, Sparrow says, slow, 280 words. Totally cool, you're warming up. Tasha says, I only edited 2 pages, also wrangled kiddos. Well, usually they're awake a little bit later than right now, so. Adorably, my kids started writing stories too. Aww. You should totally, well, Probably don't bring them into the chat because I can get a little bit adulty with my mouth. Like, I don't talk about sex at least, but I do talk about politics and I swear a lot. Um, but you know, I fully encourage bring them in and just sort of have them be productive with you in a quiet morning. That would be a good way to spend it, right? Sparrow says, hooray for writing kids. Agreed. Gabe says, so I want to start giving hints to the readers that Avery's family does love him and support him, because before they were kind of cold to him because they didn't know how to be nurturing. And knowing what I know about the ending, Gabe, that sounds, one, important, but also it sounds so like this book is going to be putting you through your paces emotionally, and I'm here for it. Sparrow says, man, just pick up any old amulet. Will they never learn? Right? And the funniest thing is, a lot of the first 5 chapters of the book go to great lengths to establish that, yes, normally Mick would know better. He is the practical one of the duo, and he is very much the, I am smarter than this, and I will not do anything that's rash and dumb and potentially dangerous. That is Eleanor's department, and my job is to keep Eleanor from hurting herself doing this shit. But the problem is he's also out of his element. He's constantly being told that he's not good enough by himself and people outside of Eleanor. And he doesn't have his usual strong suits and comfort zones to fall back on. So now he's like, I'm desperate and I want to prove that I'm good enough for her, for being on this journey with her. So I'm going to do this stupid thing. Or at least I hope that's how it comes off. I have had readers go through this and they did say that it made a lot of sense, but we'll also see. I'm going to just believe them. I've gotten scarred by betas, so I'm a little bit afraid of actually giving somebody the full book, or I'm actually afraid that once I finish the full book and I hand this off to somebody, they'll be like, I'm going to rip apart this entire beginning arc. So there's that. But let's see. Gabe says, I have an idea that Tristan has been trying to write to Avery. They've been apart for nearly 2 months, but the letters keep getting intercepted because the town is stinky. Delightful, weird-ass religious backgrounds. But yeah. The angst potential of this. I love it. I do love it, Gabe. Tasha says, Gabe, how do they start to show this? Little things? And Tasha says, yeah, Sparrow, I wrote a flash fiction story where the MC just picks up some ring and puts it on, right? That's even worse because, like, if you put on a cursed finger, or if you put on a cursed ring, you're losing that finger. Gabe says, but I am kind of curious about what that ring does and how bad of an idea that was. Gabe says they care about his health, but in doing so, they teased him when they were kids to keep him from playing. When really they just didn't want him getting sick. Aw. Yeah, what is it with family? Like, I don't know if this is a universal experience with families or if mine is just toxic, but like, what is it with families not being able to communicate properly? Like, instead of just telling, like, just gently nudging, they either use scare tactics or they make fun of you, assuming that you'll get the picture and change your behavior. And it's sort of like, it would be so much easier if you just fucking used your words and were very supportive and not patronizing about it. But whatever. Taisha says teasing is always a hard thing. It shows closeness, but if it goes too far, it can feel a bit hurtful, right? Exactly. Gabe says not enough characters, but in recent timeline, they start actually trying to be nice to him because Avery is just too good for this world, too pure, and loves them so much. He agreed about Avery being a cinnamon roll. Gabe says, so about the letters, I think I'm going to have Avery's brothers fight some people that try to keep the latest one from Avery, and he catches them defending him. Aww. That would be very cute to see. And finally Avery will know how Tristan's doing, and that he still loves him despite Avery trying to push him away. Aww. Sparrow says, what's up with Avery trying to push Tristan away? Gabe says, so in my story they live in a Puritan cult. Avery has been closeted and scared. Avery is closeted and scared that if people found out about their relationship, then Tristan would get hurt. Also, accidentally cursing oneself with a cursed object is so funny, by the way. I have to agree with that second part. It is very funny. Especially if it's like the dumbest mistake you could have possibly made. You know, like tripped, fall, oops, cursed, which might actually be how Mick did it. But in the case of puritanical cults, yeah, I really do feel for Avery, and I'm already rooting for him because like he has to deal with so much. And it is so very cute though that his brothers are actually that he gets to see his brothers defending him. But yeah, I'm super excited for this work. Delighted. Taisha says the ring was supposed to be the one from Fafnir, the dragon dwarf's legend that the Hobbit was inspired by. So they get turned into a greedy dragon, but they learn to control the transformation. I fucking love this. It kind of reminds me of Voyage of the Dawn Treader, which I like to joke around and say that certain people had read that book and walked away with the absolute wrong lesson learned. But I am delighted about dragon transformations because I don't know what it is. It's sort of like, oh, now you're dealing with this huge ass monster, except you're the monster. Let's see. Sparrow says, just to keep you up on the news on you Shall's world, there's a burrowing owl that just moved into the neighborhood. Never a dull moment. Owls are definitely adorable though, so I am going to defend them already. I don't even care what they actually did. Anyway, it is just under 2 minutes to go until our next sprint. So hopefully you got some water, you refreshed your tea, got up, walked around a little bit. Taisha says, yeah, loved writing Dragon Transformation for the flash fiction piece. Then fighting it, then learned to accept and control it. It's actually kind of really hilarious because the Nameless song actually got started the exact same way. It was originally a Flash Fiction Friday piece on Tumblr, and then it just sort of like, I'm here now. What are you going to do about it? And I'm like, I guess write you and develop you. I guess that's where we're going with this. Let's see. Tasha says, was published with Go Havoc, which does monthly flash fiction contests for publishing. It's fun for anyone wanting to get into flash fiction. I will check that out because I do actually like flash fiction, and I kind of do want to get back into it. Like, especially just to build up my skills and get something out there that can be considered publishing. 20 seconds to go, by the way. But yes, thank you for letting us know about Go Havoc. Sparrow says he did up the mug of coffee in the M wave. And cool, thanks for that reference to Go Havoc. Seconded, and hell yeah to coffee, even the microwave kind. But that said, 20 minutes are on the clock. We are into the second round. Good luck, everybody. All right, that's sprint number 2. How did we do? I read through 990 words. We are almost to the halfway point for this chapter, which is not bad. It's sort of like I'm pacing myself with this. I mean, to be fair, I had gotten through. Excuse me. I have to admit that I am a little bit tired, so I might actually be just doing a little bit of catnapping in the third sprint. But usually, what happens whenever I do these streaming sessions is I'll get done with the streaming session, then I'll conk out for an hour or 2 hours afterwards. I'm really hoping that doesn't happen. Because I've said I wanted to go out afterwards, and the entire point of me doing these sprints that go until only about noon is because usually on Saturdays I'm doing something afterwards. So since starting this, that hasn't been exactly true, but we'll see. Oh, I also did get some messages, so we'll have to hammer something out on that front. It does look like a very nice day to be out in the city, so fingers crossed that I can make it out there and that I can get a little bit of a rest before then. But in any case, as I was saying, I am pacing myself, quote unquote, in the sense that I have breezed through 2 chapters of editing and rewriting so far. I think actually 3 chapters. So in 1 week. So that's not bad at all. I know that doesn't sound like much, but considering the fact that I haven't been writing or editing every single day, and considering the fact that work is kind of being fun, it's not bad, you know? But that said, let's see. My friend's having a lazy day today, apparently. So we'll see how plans work out. I really do want to go out at least and treat myself, like shoes and because I need new boots and books and writing. But anyway, Sparrow says slow and steady. I can take slow and steady, though it's a newt frustrating. I mean, it is also one day and it's a Saturday, so I can totally understand. Gabe says I started writing a passage where Sterling comes out as trans to a midwife as he's offering help to save Avery's sister-in-law. I'm underselling it, but this is actually a big deal, lol. Especially considering the fact that you're writing about a puritanical society, right? So, like, yeah. Gabe says, that's a lot of editing. Congrats. Thank you. And it's actually kind of funny that we have trans fun because I also edited through something that kind of hints at mixed background. I'm kind of gunning for not outright saying it in this book, but especially since I kind of like the idea of normalizing a lot of things and like it really emphasizing that if you're trans, you are the gender that you are. You're not a former woman who's now a man and so on. But there's also the part that I'm talking about specifically is Mick is talking about transformation and why going up to a blood mage and asking to be turned back into a person when you've been turned into a dragon is not possible. And the long and short of it is he knows firsthand how traumatic transformation is on both the mage and the person experiencing it. He focuses a lot on describing what it was like to watch his mother, who is a blood mage, weave magic that allows for transformation from one gender to another. It involved a lot of magical items like a lot of herbs and crystals, and also the support of another blood mage. But even then, it was like the magic that was necessary exhausted the people who were involved, and there was just like blood everywhere and whatnot. And it's complicated because I've also got complicated about opinions. Like, in my opinion, it is extremely valid if you don't want to go through medical transition. There are a number of reasons why, but to me, first off, like, I'm American, so like I fully understand if you cannot get gender affirming care, even if you actually do want to, because that is a financial burden that not everybody can take on. But also, as it, it would mean that you would have to go through medical procedures, and if you have medical trauma, or if it, you we always talk about gender affirming care as like you have to get it in order to be trans, and it's sort of like it is a process in which you do something to your body that will require a lot of care and a lot of thought and it will be involve a lot of pain, and it's not to say don't do it, and I don't mean to say we should discourage people from doing it, or but I do think that we need to talk about it in order to prepare people, because the specific procedures that you would need for gender affirming care are often procedures that you have to be vigilant about aftercare with, and that will involve uh, lifestyle change for longer than a lot of people might understand. So that, and personally, I do have medical trauma, so like I don't want to undertake gender affirming care, and I feel like I want to emphasize that you are still valid and you are still trans regardless of what you do. But if you do it, then you might actually turn out like Mick, who's perfectly fine and also a dude. But Mick, the way that Mick describes a procedure, you don't get the sense that it was his procedure, but it was his procedure. When he addresses it, he's dissociating, but he's separating it from himself, and there's some implied language there. Like, he focuses very much on the people involved with that, his transition, but not on the patient or their reaction. And I'm kind of really excited to see if somebody picks up on the clues, because that's the second clue that you get that Mick is trans. The first one is how Albert reacts whenever he first meets Mick, and I feel like the readers that I've given this to so far did not actually pick up on this, but there's also a little bit where Albert is like, he reaches for Mick's hand and he nearly kisses it the way that he would for a woman, except then he shakes it, catches himself and shakes it. And there might be some involvement in Albert's opinion of him for that, but like we're not really told about this. It's very much there is a trans perspective in this book, but I don't spell it out because I don't want to spell it out. I don't want to be like, hey, yeah, this character is trans and I'm using this transness as a selling point, So anyway, sorry about making that about me. Like, I kind of got excited about that too, because hell yeah, like we're editing through trans perspectives. Uh, Also, TNS isn't necessarily like, it's about a guy who turns into a dragon, so there is some kind of like implied metaphorical transness in the book already, but like it's not supposed to be a fully trans story. If anything, it's another story about depression. Um, Sparrow says it, Gabe, that sounds amazing. Hell yeah. Taisha says, Jax, are doing great with the editing. I just got through editing another 2 pages with kiddo wrangling. You are doing impressive work with editing, considering the fact that you're doing kiddo wrangling. How are the kiddos doing, by the way? Gabe says, I appreciate you saying this, by the way. I have to choose between medical transition or staying in my brother's lives, and it sucks. That is also a good point that I can't believe I forgot to mention. But yes, sometimes medical transition isn't possible because it's dangerous for you. I don't want to say socially, but like in terms of society, like sometimes it's better to have the option to go back into the closet and just sort of like chameleon yourself. And it's terrible that that's a thing that you have to do, but it's also like it's how the world works. Not everybody can live in a place where being trans and open is a thing that you can do. So you have to put yourself first. Yeah, there's a lot of thought that has to go into doing gender affirming care, and it's not an option for everybody. And I feel like if you're the kind of person who says you cannot be trans unless you undergo medical transition, then you are privileged. Because you don't have to face the issues that a lot of others would face. You don't have to face the dangers, the physical dangers, or the danger of losing people that you care about, which sounds absolutely terrible because because absolutely block the turfs in your life, but at the same time, like, you know, it's complicated. There's a lot of nuance to this. So gender affirming care is not completely necessary to be trans. You are trans if you are trans. You are, as in, if you feel like you need to be, if you feel like you are another gender, then you're trans. Okay? If you feel like in your heart and in your soul that your gender does not match what's on your birth certificate, then you're trans. You know, you don't need to take HRT in order to be trans. You don't need to undergo medical procedures in order to be trans. You don't even have to be fully out to everybody to be trans. You are trans, and you are the gender that you are. So if you feel that you are a woman and you are 100% certain that you're a woman, then you're trans. Fuck, if you're not 100% sure that you're a woman, welcome to the non-binary umbrella. My brother in arms. We are both gender is complicated, but absolutely. Sparrow says gender affirming medical care has so many obstacles, procedures, cost gatekeepers. Seriously, we are the only experts on our genders. Absolutely. And I don't know, I'm kind of just tired of people in the queer community just being all gatekeepy about what it means to be queer and what it means to, and whether or not we can have certain labels. Like, just because I don't undergo HRT in that sense, I am technically on HRT for medical reasons because PCOS is a fucker, but I'm not on HRT to modify my body to reflect the more androgynous, genderless self that I am. Like, I don't want to modify my body. No body will be the ideal body to express what I actually am. So, but you know, that doesn't invalidate my actual experience as a non-binary person, you know? And I'm so tired of people being like, you know, you're not this specific thing, so therefore you can't claim this label. It's like, fuck you, just, I am what I am, you know? Blah, blah, blah. Sparrow says, if you would accept it, Gabe, if you would accept an internet grade on hug, you've got one. Hell yeah. And I'm also adding a cousin hug. 20 minutes are on the clock. I'm going to finish up with the chat real quick, but we are in the third round. Taisha says, I actually read a really good scientific article on gender affirming care that came out a couple months ago from the Science Classroom. Does dropping links here work? I don't think it does, unfortunately, but feel free to drop it in DMs, I do believe. I think we're all on. So if you want to share around your blue skies, you can. Or you can give it a shot and see what happens. It's been a hot minute since somebody tried to post a link. Taisha says, basically lots of statistics about how important it is. Absolutely, gender affirming care is important to your experience if you can do it. If not, it's also just however you express your gender is valid. Gabe says, I love family hugs, LMAO. Sparrow offers a heart, and Taisha says, did that work? Apparently not. If you tried to post a link, it did not show up, sadly. But that's sad. I will say this also, we should be fighting towards a world where everybody can have or undergo a medical transition if they feel that that is necessary for their survival as a trans person. However, if this was a perfect world, everybody had access to the medical care that they needed, and trans people were socially accepted everywhere, and there was no violence against trans people anywhere, then if you choose not to do a medical transition, then you are still valid as a trans person. Like, being trans and going through medical transition are not things that necessarily go hand in hand. Like, you can do one without the other, for sure. That also includes undergoing medical transition or medical procedures that affirm your gender and not considering yourself trans. I will not go into detail. Being non-binary is extremely complicated. Taisha says, okay, did not work, I'll DM you. Sparrow says, let's write the worlds we want to manifest. And absolutely, for sure. That's it, I'm going to leave y'all in silence for the remaining 17 minutes to do writing things. Good luck. Alright, that is sprint number 3. How did we do? I have to admit, let's see, I still got a little bit sidetracked. And even more fun, right now my apartment smells like burning rubber because of whatever the jackasses upstairs are doing. But that having been said, we are still going for a 4th sprint, by the way. $384 for this round, which is very much lower than what we did last round, I know, but still. But that having been said, how did we do? Again, I was distracted. There's a lot that's going on. I lie, I was mostly, like I said, I was just kind of resting because did not get enough sleep last night. I have to admit, part of it is, actually all of it is my fault. Like, a friend of mine convinced me to buy a subscription to World of Warcraft, and I hadn't touched it in a couple of weeks because Final Fantasy had just dropped their recent relic weapon and also Vacation, and in between those two things, I was more than distracted. But I don't know, like, coming back into World of Warcraft, I'm kind of like, now keep in mind, like, I'm playing Mists of Pandarin, the classic, because that's what my friend plays. And I have to admit, like, the graphics are nice, but it's just at this level a series of fetch quests. And I know A Realm Reborn is comparable. Like, everybody, whenever you get into Final Fantasy XIV, everybody says that the base game is tedious as fuck and full of fetch quests. But I don't know, like, even playing through that multiple times, and I have, because I keep on creating new characters and then abandoning them partway through for reasons. But even playing through the base game multiple times, I'm like, this is I'm in WoW right now. Like, I'm in Ashenvale because, again, my friends are Alliance. But I'm in Ashenvale, and I'm like, there is story, but I'm not getting a sense of what's going on in this world and why is this all relevant to me and why I'm being asked to do all of these things, other than the fact I'm a freelance adventurer, I guess. Whereas in Final Fantasy, you know, there is a story. You are treated to a single solid story that's centered around your character. So it's easier to get into and it's easier to see what your actions are doing. Like, I'm not going to spoil it too deeply, but for example, in the same amount of hours that I had spent running around and doing fetch quests in WoW, in Final Fantasy, I was responsible for brokering peace between city-states and accidentally killing several of my friends. It's like, I don't know. I feel like WoW is the kind of game that's better played if you are with more people. And the thing is, like, I am a very social player on MMOs, but, like, at the same time, it's like, I'm very much also, I like to have my space. I like to exist with other people, and I like to do my quests. But it's like running around in these expanses, and your walking speed and mount speed are both slower than what you get in Final Fantasy. It just feels like a very painful game to do. But at the very least, I get to run around with the pet moth. But anyway, the point is, I was up late trying to get through a bunch of fetch quests for WoW to get back into it and to say that I play it, but I admit that I'm probably going to just let my subscription run out. We'll see. Uh, Sparrow says, well, few words, but you know, when the non human characters just start dictating poetry, these things happen. 100%. You know, you gotta keep you have to wrangle those you really have to put in the effort to wrangle those non human characters because they will go off on you. Uh, Gabe says, not as productive this stream, lol, but it's fine. 286 words. Sterling's personal knowledge on childbearing was what saved Avery's sister in law. If he wasn't a witch hunter, he'd be a good doctor. Aww. I do love Sterling, so. Uh, Gabe says, perhaps that'll be his new job in the epilogue. I I hope so too. I hope that all of the characters who deserve happy endings get happy endings, if you know what I mean. So. But anyway. I have bought my ticket to the city because one way or another we are going to enjoy the day outside. It has been, like I said, it's been a week. Uh, Basically nonstop work every single day. It's just because, I want to say it's because we're undergoing our fast period at the moment, but you know, like our busy period. Um, Usually our busy period runs from like November all the way, the end of October really, all the way to May. And, but honestly, I think it's also that there's a lot going on. And what's really frustrating, not to complain about my job, is that we like to introduce new things and new products, but we don't like to actually develop them. So, for example, I would be told, hey, yeah, do this, and just figure it out. And sort of like you haven't really sat down and planned out what you need to have done and just sort of like develop the look of your product before attempting to release it. Uh, and I've been told again and again that this is just how it works, but I'm like, I feel like there could be some development beforehand. Just like some procedures at least, but anyway, that's why I'm exhausted all the time. I guess that also reflects how I'm feeling about this work in progress in general, like writing in general. That's why it's been kind of a slog because everything feels like a slog whenever you're overworked and into the ground and need months to recover. But you know, I'll get through it. Also depression, you know how it is. But you keep on going and you keep on doing your own thing. And that is one thing that I've been trying to express to the fam. Basically, they seem to think that mental health, that getting over things is just a matter of picking yourself up by your bootstraps and looking for the little things in life. And I'm like, you're such. On the one hand, yes, looking for little things in life has been how I've not been walking into the Hudson. But on the other hand, hearing it come from somebody else is very belittling. Like, it's the acknowledgement of depression and the understanding that I'm already well aware of what it takes to live because I have to make a conscious decision every single day that today is not going to be the day that I'm going to go walk into the Hudson. But that was very depressing and a lot of complaining about work and life. But you know how it is. Um, the point is, you do little things every day just to keep yourself kind of like interested in life and kind of like find zesty things to put joy into it again. So be kind to yourself if you feel like it's difficult to get back into writing because it is. If you've gone through all this fun stuff, I say to myself every single day. Anyway, Point is, I haven't really been doing too much lately. Most of my time has been spent working, and now and then I'll pick away at the draft. But I am learning that I can take as much time as I need in order to get a draft done. And I do feel that it helps to not be on fucking Tumblr, because everybody on Tumblr is like, you're old if you're in your 30s. I just got, it took me ages to get my first debut novel out, but I'm also only 31. I'm like, God, I hate you all. Like, I don't know. I feel like Tumblr's a bit too young for how I feel. Um, I feel like it's a lot more comforting to find people on Blue Sky who are like, yeah, I'm in my late 40s, my 50s, and I'm only really getting into it now because life is hard, and not everybody has the privilege of being a young author who can just do art. It's fun. However long it takes for you to get to where you need to be is however long it takes. Don't even worry about taking a decade more than your peers feel like they're doing. But anyway, Gabe says, I'm now imagining magical healer Elias and Dr. Sterling being lovey-dovey grandpas helping one patient at a time, so it's got to be canon now. And if there is a merciful God, this will happen in a cozy cottage. So I love this, Gabe. Please do that. Gabe says, God, that does sound frustrating, by the way. Yeah, it is. It is, and it's difficult to talk about because there is the social media agreement, and it's not a good look to complain about your job, but in certain ways, I feel like the what I'm going through is like unusual for companies. Like, I feel like you shouldn't be working yourself into the ground constantly, and you should be able to get everything that you were assigned to do that day done. But it's impossible to do because there's just so much, and everybody wants to have their thing be priority, and nobody understands how long things take, or how the procedure to do things. And oftentimes you're left trying to figure things out, or you're left trying to like put yourself back together because you've gotten a 3-hour job and they want you to do it in 1 hour, and it's hard. But you do what you do. Sparrow says, I can write through Xiao's pain knowing that she's going to have a really happy ending. She's going to become a major healing temple. Right now she's an unknown spring of healing water. Oh, okay, so you are actually literal, and that sounds so cute. Like, I love sentient place, the concept of the sentient setting to begin with, but one that's like, yay, I want to be a healing temple and I want to help people. That is so cute. But also, oh, it's a setting that feels pain. Please give Ilishao a very happy ending. And Sparrow says, hitting my stride at 61. High five. Thank you for saying this, because I feel like people need to understand that you don't have to be that you aren't late to the art because you didn't publish a book in your 20s. I feel like there's this weird emphasis in writing, publishing, book circles in general. I know it's true in every art circle, but I feel like there's also this weird emphasis on being young, rich, and publishable. But Taisha says, I've got to go take care of the kiddos, but really enjoyed this. Thanks so much for hosting again. Hope you can have a good time later. Happy writing, everyone. Totally cool. Thank you for coming, and take care of those kiddos. But that having been said, we are going to do one more sprint, as I've mentioned, and then I will talk about schedules and release us all into the void. So 20 more minutes are on the clock. Get ready, get set, and here we go. is the third and final sprint. How did we do? I was pretty productive on this one. I really wanted to push through and get to Lord Albert's second appearance and try to at least get through halfway through this chapter. It is a chonker. It's about 5,000 words, although it's getting shorter. It's weirdly easy to cut at this part of the story, so that's excellent. But that having been said, 1,678 words read, which makes up for the funny bits of last round. And I am going to actually stop that right here. I still have... How much more do I have? I mean, I have one more little bit left, so maybe I might finish before I go out. But in any case, I do have to wrap this up pretty quickly because my headset is dying, which means that my mic is dying as well. So I'm going to go very quickly over the schedule for the remainder of the week while you guys talk about how you did. Sparrow says 250 new words. Yay, Ilushao is learning how to scry with her own water. Excellent. I'm very proud of her. But that said, for the rest of the week, we do have... Gabe says, I think my favorite part of this session was writing Avery's oldest brother being just so relieved his wife was okay. He is a cinnamon roll and I love it. I'm here for it. And Gabe also says, thank you for hosting. I am delighted, and thank you all for coming. But that having been said, the schedule for the rest of the week, I do have a 3-day weekend, and tomorrow is going to be absolute crap. So in terms of weather, at least, not in terms of productivity. So there might be something new tomorrow. It'll probably be a night writes, not a tea writes. Keep an eye on jackswolfwrites.bsky.social for any potential announcements for anything new and shiny. If not, you know, it is what it is. But beyond that, the next writing session is going to be the next official one is going to be the 18th of February. That is this coming Wednesday, and that is a night writes. So what a night writes is our sister writing session, which takes place at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, which means it's basically 12 hours into the future, or a 12-hour shift. So that happens on Wednesday nights. So that is February the 18th, starting at 8:30. That will be our next official one. But again, keep an eye out for any special streams. After the 18th, unfortunately, I will not have too much time. Especially since this is a D&D week for me, haha. So Thursday, Friday, nothing, but Saturday the 21st will be our next tea writes. So February, Saturday the 21st, starting at 8:30 a.m. You will come join me, and we shall continue onward with our editing journey. That having been said, thank all of you for coming. This, as always, this has been a delightful little session. It's always nice to kind of sit down on Saturday mornings, drag myself out of bed, kind of groggily get into writing and get words done, even if they're editing, not writing. But it's also excellent to interact with all of you all and just be chill. And yeah, this was a delightful one especially. So, that having been said, I will keep you updated about tomorrow. Hopefully I remember, and hopefully I don't end up vegging out the entire time. But keep an eye on jackswolfwrites.bsky.social. Hit that bell over on Blue Sky. Do not hit it on YouTube. I do not make announcements here. But other than that, I hope y'all have a great rest of your day. If it's going to be a chill Valentine's Day, may it be a chill Valentine's Day. If you're doing something with your significant other or somebody that you love otherwise, I hope that's delightful. Whatever you do, I hope that it's very chill, very relaxing, that you take care of yourselves, and also know that I love you. Thank you all for coming, and I'll wrap it up here. Take care, everybody. Probably see you tomorrow. If not, see you Wednesday or Saturday.